This simple real estate hack is so good, it feels like cheating and could very well save you millions. The secret is land trusts. Hi, I'm Jeff Hampton with STR Law Guys. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about land trusts. I like to call them kind of the tool in your tool belt to help you get assets out of your personal name and protect them into an asset protection structure like an LLC. By the way, if you wait around to the end of this video, I'm also going to give you a free ebook, 5 strategies to protect your short-term rentals and give you peace of mind. Okay, what is a land trust? Maybe you've never heard of a land trust before. Well, let's identify what it is. A land trust is essentially a revocable trust agreement similar to a living trust. It consists of 3 parties. You're always looking at a trustee, a beneficiary, and a grantor. Okay, those are the 3 parties to a land trust. The trustee can be an individual or an entity. And one of the things that we look at, you look at the grantor, you can set these up in multiple different ways. But why would you do it? And let's just jump into the real reason why you do it. The number one reason why you do it is you really want to, when you move property out of your personal name into an LLC, there's problems in certain states. As short-term rental investors, many of us will buy properties in a second home in a residential loan, right? You're going to buy a second home residential loan. So when you're using residential loans, the problem is you cannot close that residential loan in an LLC. Your lender won't let you do it. So now, how are you going to get the property out of your personal name into an LLC? Well, many states, and I could go down the list, will charge you what's called a real estate transfer tax in order to move an asset from your personal name into an LLC. And that can be significant. It could be as little as 0.5%. It could be up to 3% of the value of the entire property. Some states have all these unique things. You've got different types of taxes. Florida charges what's called the dock stamps fee. You've got Tennessee charges the fonts tax. You can go all the way around on this. Certain states up in the Northeast can charge up to 3%. So you really have to be careful about not getting hit with an unexpected tax bill. But number 2, you have something known as the due on sale clause, which means if you move your property, let's say you have a mortgage and now you've got this residential mortgage that you're now moving the ownership of that property into an LLC, think about what you're doing. You're actually breaching your contract, your mortgage contract, because you had a deal in place with your mortgage company for this loan, not with your LLC, right? So think about that for a second. It's really important to recognize that. Technically, this is never a problem, except recently with high interest rates that have skyrocketed, we are starting to see a lot of due on sale investigations going on with mortgage companies as a result of people moving properties at low interest rates over into LLCs. And that could be disastrous if you're planning to keep your cash flow in check. Let's say you've got a 3% rate and now all of a sudden you move it over into an LLC and here comes the loan, the mortgage company calling saying now you've got to increase your rate to 7.5% or 8%. So be aware of that. Now, those are the impediments. Those are the kind of things you don't know what you don't know. So it's very important you recognize those could be 2 big problems for you if you're trying to get your assets out of your personal name. That's where a land trust comes in. Land trusts have been used for a number of years to hold title to real estate and to remove it from an individual's name. And this is especially relevant for asset protection because when you hold property in your name, any judgments against you can potentially affect your property. But when you transfer this property into a land trust and then ultimately into an LLC, it can help safeguard you against a potential judgment, particularly because now that's not all recorded locally in county record. Now, I'm going to get into that here in a second about what we're talking about. So what is the land trust? The land trust essentially, it's an agreement, a written document. And unlike most recorded documents that are out there, if you have something in place like an LLC, it is not actually filed or registered somewhere. So the terms outlined in the land trust agreement resemble a contract. It allows you to be able to determine to buy or sell a property, similar to specifying terms for purchasing an item or returning it. Within the trust agreement, you list all the necessary provisions and conditions that govern the trust. You can also determine the level of control to be granted to the trustee. property, the rights bestowed upon the beneficiaries, and the handling of the trust assets. But why do we really do it? Well, here's why. Number one, think about it this way. Unlike the recording of an LLC, if you go record an LLC in your state, as a result of that, you have to pay a fee and it's in public record. When you use a land trust, though, a land trust operates solely as a private document. As a result of that, only when someone examines the property's title and notices it's held in a trust will they become aware of its existence at all. However, they won't have access to the specific terms outlined in the trust agreement because it remains unrecorded. So that makes a land trust an excellent tool to be used, particularly for real estate investors, to keep real estate properties out of their personal name. You want to keep these properties out of your personal name, here's the way to do it. So it's crucial to minimize the appearance of one's name on anything in public record. And one of the ways to do that, you say, well, why do I need a land trust at all? So let's say you have a property. I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say you've got a property that you purchased in Florida, and maybe it's a beach house right on the beach, maybe there in PCB or somewhere else, Destin or whatever. And let's say you're there and you had to buy it in your personal name to get that really good interest rate. Well, now you need to move it into an LLC. The problem is Florida has the dock stamps fee. So if you're going to do that, you want to avoid that, and maybe you have a low interest rate. You want to avoid your note being called due by your mortgage company. So what you would do is you would move the property into a land trust. And when you do that, here's what happens. The land trust, now you would be listed as the beneficiary. Your attorney could be the trustee on the land trust. And here's the great part. Now, when something happens, no one knows about the beneficiary, but the trustee, initially when your attorney files the trust, he would resign, and now you become the trustee, but no one sees you on there. They only see the trust as is and the trustee. So now your attorney or other individual, you could end up using an LLC or otherwise, now helps establish anonymity, and your name is not on that land trust whatsoever. You can now not only have privacy, but now you can extend your beneficial interest as a beneficiary into the LLC, and now you're able to establish asset protection. Now you say, well, why is that important? Well, number one, you don't want to pay. You don't want to pay a real estate transfer tax or the dock stamps fee in Florida. And number two, under the Garn State Germain Act from the early 1980s, when you convert property from your personal name into an LLC through a land trust, you avoid being concerned about the due on sale clause. So notice, you're out here with your tool belt and you got to pull the tool out and to be able to use it to help you get these properties out of your personal name and into an LLC without getting slapped in the face with taxes and slapped in the face with the due on sale clause by your mortgage company. So those are some of the things to take a look at. So notice there's some other examples where you can also use a land trust to help you. And one of those areas is flipping properties. Now this is happening a lot more frequently, and I've seen folks come to me and say, hey, I'm kind of a flipper. I like to buy and I want to flip these assets. Well, if you end up deciding you're going to flip the property, one of the things that you can do is a land trust can be very helpful. One of the ways to do it is you can take title to the real estate within a land trust and then find an investor to flip the property to, which is normally flipping just like anyone does when they fix and flip a property, right? But the problem is now you can actually, it's not a problem yet, but you can actually sell the land trust itself when you transfer the property directly to them. Now, why does this matter? Many people like to fix up a property, but when they go to sell the property, they end up selling it to someone who ends up having to use certain financing that requires that the property must have been held by the same owner for at least 6 months. There's a seasoning requirement that sometimes is necessary when you're trying to do fix and flips. So as a result of that, in order to ensure that your buyers can qualify for that financing, you don't want to lose out, particularly on first-time home buyers. Those in that situation, you can use a land trust so that you take title of the property in the land trust to begin with, do the fix, and then when you turn to flip, as long as you've held the property in that land trust for at least 6 months, you meet the seasoning requirements, so that way you don't run into any type of problems when it comes time to flip your property if you're doing those type of things. Now, I know we're talking primarily about short-term rentals, but people are involved in all types of real estate investing right now. We're not just talking about that aspect of it, and a land trust can be another tool in your tool belt if you end up doing fix and flips. Same thing when it comes to wholesaling properties. You can utilize a land trust there. You can tie the property under contract in the name of the trust and then assign the trust to the investor. This way, the seller cannot object to the closing because they agreed to sell to the trust, not the beneficiaries. Now, my point is this. Very few people are talking about land trusts. And if you're looking, whether it's a short-term rental, whether it's a fix and flip, whether any type of real estate investment, it's really critical that you take a look at the application of a land trust and how it can help you avoid two big issues. Remember the two biggest ones. Number one, you help avoid that due on sale clause so you don't run into problems with your mortgage company. Number two, it helps you avoid real estate transfer taxes in states for which there is a transfer tax. Number three, it helps you provide another layer of privacy so that people are not able to see when you're making transactions with your property like this. And then I'll tell you one little bonus tip here. States like Florida actually provide you some additional asset protection. If you have a property in Florida and you use a land trust, the beneficiaries in a land trust actually have some asset protection, which is very specific to Florida and no other state. So the point is, it's really critical to work with an attorney that knows the rules of a land trust and how you can put it into place. And as a final little aside here, here's another great benefit. There are a lot of people right now purchasing properties at very high interest rates. It's really important to understand this. If you're purchasing at, say, 7-8% interest, somewhere in that range, in the very near future, you're going to want to refinance that property whenever the rates start going back down at some point. We hope soon. Well, I want you to understand right now, in order to do that, if you move a residential loan into an LLC, you cannot refinance that. You have to pull the loan and the property out, and then you have to refinance. Well, guess what happens in states like Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina? Just go down the list. There is a transfer tax, and every time you pull it out, you're dinged on the transfer tax. Once you refi and you want to move it back in, you're dinged on that transfer tax again, plus you lose your asset protection. However, if you've used a land trust from the very beginning, you can now pull that beneficial interest that you assigned into the LLC from your land trust back out, and you can do what's called restate or change the language in that land trust to convert it to a living trust. When you do that, that allows you to now take that trust. You can go get a refi done, but it does not trigger the transfer tax. It allows you to keep things in place, approve that refi, restate the trust back to a land trust, and assign that back into your LLC. So notice, it's extremely beneficial if you think you're going to want to refinance. And the last time I checked, everybody buying at the rates that we're at right now, no one's going to want to still be sitting at those high interest rates a couple of years from now. So listen, I hope this was of some help to you. We went over and just kind of gave a big 30,000 foot view of land trusts, how they can apply. Maybe you're looking at a purchase, or now you've already purchased a property and you want to figure out how to protect it and get it out of your personal name. We at STR Law Guys can help you. We service the entire nation. We can help you with being able to set up a structure like this. So don't hesitate to reach out to us at strlawguys.com. And listen, I wanted to give you that free ebook, 5 strategies to protect your short-term rentals and give you peace of mind. Click through down into the link below and I'll be happy to send that over to you. I want to thank you again for joining us on our YouTube channel. I'll see you on our next video series.